In this video, I'm going to be making a game in Godot and share my experience. And welcome back to the channel. I was quite inactive on YouTube in 2025. Well, now I'm back with some epic content. Anyways, let's start the Godot game dev. I actually started Godot in 2024, but within 1 month of learning it, I stopped. Then I did return to it last year, but then I stopped again. So now I'm back with it. Let's see what I can make. So I was thinking of making a Flappy Bird game. So to do that, I'm going to create a 2D scene, and this is going to be the main scene. I'm just going to call this main. So if you don't know what a node is, nodes are basically like the components of the game in Godot, just like sprites in Scratch. So I'm going to save this scene as it's the main scene, and this scene will basically have all the objects and other stuff in the game. Before I move on, I'm going to go to the project settings and then go to display window. I'm going to set the viewport width to something like 300 and the height something like 500, like this. And if I run it, we get a window like this. So now I'll add the player. So I'm going to add a new node. I'm going to add a character body 2D, and I'm going to call this the player. This is the bird. To display the sprite, I'm going to add sprite 2D. I'm going to add a collision shape 2D, and I actually need the Flappy Bird asset. So I'm going to use these Flappy Bird assets by cos resetter 55, which I found online, and they basically have everything you need to make a Flappy Bird game. So I'm going to drag the yellow bird mid flap as the right texture. As you can see, we have the bird here, and then it appears blurry. So what I'm going to do is go to texture and filter and then nearest, and now it's normal pixelated. And for the collision shape, I'm going to add a new circle shape like this. This is a nice collider, and this will be the collision shape. So using this collision shape, the bird can detect other objects. So now I'm going to save the scene and then run the project. And as you can see, the bird is here instead of being in the center. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a camera 2D, and what that does is the main camera goes to the same position as the bird, and so the bird appears centered like this. I'm also going to increase the size of the bird. So I'm going to go to transform scale and then increase it a bit like this. Okay, that's too big, reduce it. Yeah, I think this should be a good size. And now I'm going to make the bird actually flap. So I'm going to add a new script here and then go to this. I'm going to add a new folder called scripts and then add player.gd and then create. And for those of you who don't know, the Godot game engine uses GD script, which is similar to Python, and it is quite easy to understand. So right now I don't need any of this, and what I'm going to do now is function physics process and then change the velocity by decreasing it, whatever the gravity is, multiplied by delta. This basically makes it fall. And then to actually make the bird flap, what I'm going to do is go to project settings, go to input map, then I'm going to add a jump action, and then I'm going to add a new event configuration. Go to mouse buttons, left mouse button, then I'm going to add space bar, up arrow. So now I'm going to check if input, so is action just pressed, jump. I'm going to set the y velocity to something like 300, and then after this move and slide like this. This should work. Let's see. And the bird flies. I don't know why. I just realized we have to change this minus to plus. This is because as you go up, the y value decreases, and as you go down, the y value increases. That is weird, but yeah. So as you can see, the bird is falling. Jump strength is not enough. So what I'm going to do is change this 300 to something like 500.
A few moments later.
Okay, now I found the solution. Yeah, I was supposed to keep minus 300 as that is 300 pixels upwards. If you use this similar code in other places, it's considered 300 pixels downwards, or in Godot it's 300 pixels upwards. But yeah, it works. The bird is able to flap. Now I want to add a rotation effect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do rotation equals to decrease to radians velocity dot y to 0.1. And did I make this up just now? No, but yeah, it works. I actually spent some time in Google searching how you can actually make a rotation effect like this and found this script, and the most basic part in the Flappy Bird game is done, making the bird flap. Now I'm going to add pipes. So to do that, I'm going to create a new scene. I'm going to call this pipes, and then I'll create a area 2D node, one for the top pipe. And then under this, I'm going to add a sprite 2D node to display the top pipe. So I'm going to call this top sprite, and then a collision shape 2D. And then for the top pipe, I'm going to use this pipe green image as a texture like this. Then I'm going to add a rectangular shape as the collision shape, and add the rectangular shape like this, as you can see. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the bottom pipe. So I'm just going to duplicate this, make sure this comes under the pipes. I'm going to call this one bottom sprite. Now I'm going to set the position of the top pipe to something like x minus 230. Okay, not X. And then I'm going to set the rotation to 180 degrees, making it face upside down. Okay, I'm going to recreate the bottom pipe. So I'm going to duplicate this, put it under the pipes. I'm going to call this one bottom. And then I'm going to set the Y position to something like 230, which means it is 230 pixels downwards. So this whole scene is a pipe. So I'm going to save the scene. And now when I run the game, it doesn't show. So now we need a mechanism to actually spawn the pipes. So in the main scene, I'm going to create a new node, 2D node, calling it pipe spawner, which basically spawns all the pipes. And then under this I'm going to add a timer, let's say for about 2 seconds, which means after every 2 seconds a new pipe spawns. And then I'm going to add a script to this, and I'm going to write export variable pipe scene as fact scene, like this. So by writing this, we can put our pipe scene in this box here, and it gets stored as a variable. So we can use this pipe scene to make multiple instances of pipes, and they start spawning. This is similar to clones in Scratch. So what I'm going to do is, once we are ready, I'm going to set timer.start, and then to actually know if it's start, I'm just going to print start. Let's just see if that works. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. That means there is one thing to do. And now I found how the timer works. You need to use signals. Yeah, I didn't think of that. So I'm going to go to node and then signal, and then I'm going to attach this signal under the pipe spawner. So now what are signals? I actually forgot how signals were. I had used them the previous time I used Godot, and the Godot docs actually helped me understand how signals work. Even this video by Nad Labs helped. And signals are basically like messages that can be transferred from one node to another, just like broadcast messages in Scratch. So I'll just start the timer once the project starts. So start the timer. On timer timeout, you can actually spawn the pipe. So I'll create a new variable called pipe, which creates a instance of the pipe scene, and then I'm going to add child the pipe, which means I'm adding the pipe instance to the scene. And then I'm going to set the position of the pipe something like vector 2, x0 and y0. And if we run this, as you can see, the pipes have spawned. Actually, I'm going to create a new function to spawn the pipe. So on timer timeout, I'll just spawn pipe. To actually spawn the pipe, just do this. I'm also going to add the pipe to a group. Now I need to spawn the pipe properly. So in the beginning, it needs to spawn in the right hand side of the screen. And as the viewport width is 300 pixels, I'm going to put 300 here. It doesn't seem to work.
A few moments later.
Yeah, so when I put it to 100, it spawns here. And now the pipes are actually big. So to fix that, we'll have to select both these pipes, then go to transform, reduce the scale by this much, select the top, put the top to something like -210y, and then the bottom to 210. Now after some adjustments, this is the pipe. And now I need to figure out a way to choose a random number. And so here I found a website that shows how to generate a random number between a certain range. So here it says we need to create a new random number generator and then basically use that. What I'm going to do is create a new variable called random number generator, and then do random number generator dot new, and with this they choose a random number between two specified values. So I'm going to create the pipe y variable again, rng random integer range, and let's choose something like -100 to 100. To actually see this work, I'm going to set this to 0. Oh wait, I have to put the pipe y here. And now if we see, the pipe is spawning in random positions. Now it's time to make the pipes actually move. So in the pipe scene, I'm going to attach a new script called pipes. And before I do the code, I'm going to go to the pipe spawner and put the pipe position to 150, the X position. And then in the pipes, I'm going to change the X position by, let's say, 10 into delta. I'll actually create a new variable called speed. I'll set speed to 10, and then I'm going to replace this 10 with speed. So if I run this, the pipes spawn, but they move very slowly. So I'm going to change it to something like 50. No, 50 is too much. I think 30. Yeah, 30 is also small. Okay, I think 50. Yeah, 50 is good. Now the instance should be gone whenever it touches the other edge. So if position dot x is less than -150, which is the other edge, then to delete the instance we do q free. And this is what we have so far. Now we actually need to detect collisions. So for this, I'm going to go to the player script and then create a new signal called, say, game over. And then I'm going to go to the pipes and then check if the body enters the pipes, which means if the bird is colliding with the pipes. So I'm going to check if body entered a body. In this case, the signal checks if the bird collides with the pipes. And then I'm going to check if body is in group bird. Then I'm going to make the bird emit a game over function. So right now I need to check if the bird is actually having the bird group. The reason I did this is so that the pipe responds to only the bird's collision. So I go to the player in groups, and then I'm going to add a new group called bird. And then now I need to actually declare the game over function. So function game over. So when the game gets over, I want to pause the full scene, get tree dot paused, and I'm going to set it to true, which means it should pause. And then I'm going to emit this game over signal, game over emit, and let's see if that works. So if I touch a pipe right now, nothing happens. Let's see why. I collided with the bottom pipe, but I made the collision only with the top. I made the collision script only with the top pipe. So to fix that, I'm going to go to the bottom pipe signals, and then I'm going to check if body entered the bottom pipe, and then just do the same thing. So now this should work. So now if I touch any pipe, okay, I don't know why it's not working. Oh, this is because I made the top pipe belong to the bird group. So let me delete that and go to the player and then add the bird group here. And then when I go to pipes, everything seems okay. So I'll just run and it works. And if you've made it this far, make sure to subscribe as we're trying to reach 2000 subscribers by April. Now I would also like to restart the game when we lose the game. So if I go to player, I'm going to await get tree or create timer for let's say 2 seconds. And then I'm going to set get tree equals to pause to false, and then I'm going to basically reload the current scene. So now if I run this, if I lose, I don't know why it immediately starts after losing the game. I literally kept await get re timer 2 seconds. How to create timer through get re. Oh, I was supposed to keep that dot timeout at the end. So let's do that dot timeout. So let's run that. So if I touch a pipe after 2 seconds, it reloads. Wow, we can actually lose and restart the game. Now it's time to add a scoring system. Then under the pipes, I'm going to add a new area 2D, and I'm going to call this score zone. Under this, I'm just going to add a collision shape 2D, which is a rectangular shape, and I'm going to place it like this. So, and basically this just detects if the bird passes through the pipes, and when the bird touches this, the score should increase by 1. So for now, I'm going to go to script, then pipes, if body entered the score zone. So if body is in group bird, I'm just going to do bird score dot emit. So I'm basically emitting this signal. If I go to pipe spawner, so after creating a new pipe, just do pipe dot bird score connect. So we're basically connecting the signal, and then I'm just going to do get parent dot increase score. Now the parent node for pipe spawner is obviously the main node. So I'll have to create a new script for main. Then I'll create a new function called increase score, which I've mentioned here, and basically for now I'll just print bird score. Let's see, and as you can see, whenever the bird passes, it is displayed here. Now I've taken the game to the next level. I added a start menu, and then if I click start, the game actually starts, and I also prevented the bird falling. As you can see, it's game over when it falls, and when it goes up, it's game over as well. So here is the final game. I'll start. This is the start menu. So I click start. The bird flaps. Whenever I pass a pipe, the score increases. And when I touch the pipes, the game restarts. And that was the game. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And comment down below if you want to see more Godot related videos. I've actually previously made different games in Godot. And this was the Godot game I made after a long time. So what do you guys think? Anyways, thanks for watching.